Good morning, afternoon, evening, and good night. I'm Tomo,
And I am all of your sins made manifest.
and welcome back to Two Nerds Talk. Today we're going back to Warhammer to talk about that subject that I said was the opposite of moist.
that's one way of putting it. Yes, we are jumping back into Age of Sigmar. We are going to take a deep dive into my main army. Well, only army, but I'm building up to a second soon. The Nighthaunt. Ever since Nagash's Necroquake, there have been no unquiet dead, and the Nighthaunts are among. Wait, no quiet dead, not no unquiet dead. That was stupid of me. Anyways, there have been no quiet dead, and the Nighthaunt are the most visible of those forces, even if they are a bit intangible. However, this is not a simple ranking. This will be something very different from our usual format.
So this time, rather than talk about aesthetics or rules and lore like we did with the Gene Stealer cults, or just talk about our overall opinions, this time we are going to talk about how the Nighthaunt came to be Nighthaunt, because they're all dead being punished in some way, and how much they deserve it, and how much of an improvement or as you can see by the chart, how much worse their unlife is than their life was.
Yes, the typical Nighthaunt are spirits of the damned. They're people who in life have offended Nagash in some way, and so when they die, he twists their afterlife into some form of ironic punishment. Though this is not true for all Nighthaunts. Some Nighthaunt actually enjoy better lives than what they had in actual life, very rarely, and some are just kind of doing what they were already doing, but it's slightly worse. And also, there's degrees of deserving it. Some of these people are serial killers and horrible murderers and criminals, and some of them not so much.
Given how petty Nagash is as well, some of these people you'll find don't really at all deserve what they're having done to them.
Absolutely. One thing to note is that Tomo is going to purely be doing the ranking. I, as the lore expert here on Nighthaunt, am just going to give a summary of each type of Nighthaunt, what it does, what is being done to it, and what they did in life to earn their fate, and then Tomo will be deciding the ranking. One thing I'm going to warn you, Tomo, is that some of the Nighthaunt lore changed from 2nd edition to 3rd edition. So I know you play in my Soulbound game, and you may think how some Nighthaunt work. Some of them have actually been changed from the edition switch.
I'll be honest, the only thing I know, the only unit of Nighthaunt I really know is the Glade Wraiths. Otherwise, I don't really know Nighthaunt stuff.
Hilariously enough, the Glade Wraiths had their lore changed.
Well, there you go. So yeah, like Shade said, I don't know Nighthaunt very well, and I'll be the first to admit that. I like the aesthetic, but so yeah, this is going to be a Shade Talks, and I make decisions based on that.
Well then, shall we get started? And are these in the order that I sent you the list?
They should be, yes. I
Okay,
will
so
send you a
first off-
screenshot of the images I have here.
First off, we have the Chain Rasps. The Chain Rasps are among the most basic of all Nighthaunt. They are basically their standard troop unit. And what Chain Rasps did was, in life, they were prisoners sentenced to various jail terms. It doesn't matter what the crime was. Some of these guys could be rapists. Some of them could be murderers. Some of them could be in jail for jaywalking, which is not a real crime.
Now there's flipping off cops, but
In any case, while this person was in jail, they died. And in Nagash's view, being so concerned with what happens after life, dying while in jail is essentially escaping your sentence. As such, these poor souls are turned into chain rasps and are made to, as their name implies, eternally wear chains, heavy weights, manacles, and so forth, which literally weighs them down in the afterlife. And is it Joseph Marley from Christmas
yes.
Story?
Jacob
It's
Marley.
basically
Jacob
that.
Marley.
Jacob Marley. It is basically Jacob Marley. They are eternally wearing chains that are holding them down and are tormented by their captors.
Well, I feel like this one is kind of difficult because, like you said, we don't know what they're in prison for.
Right.
But they are in prison. Now, this could be just, cops are cops and never trust a cop.
I mean, some of them could quite literally have been thrown in jail because they offended some noble.
Yeah, so with that said, I think we're going to... I don't think they're super high on the deserved it list. And given that being in a fantasy prison, they've already become super weighted down with manacles and chains. I don't know if that's a super huge change, since they're now also free to move around while still being chained down.
I believe the worst chain rasps, there's some special character ones. One has a mask nailed to his face, and there's one who somehow is decapitated and is still moving around and is a chain rasp.
Kind of nearly headless Nick right there.
So, pretty middle of the road all around. Not quite in the middle, though. Mostly on the ruined life side of things.
Yeah, so I'm not going to put them very high on either thing. Obviously, they did kind of deserve it. And obviously, this is kind of a... their unlife isn't all that great in comparison to what their life was. But, they were already in prison, so...
Alright.
Not super high.
Well, next up is the slightly more elite troops of the Nighthaunt, the Grimgas Reapers. In life, the Grimgas Reapers were murderers of a sort. These were not people who murdered directly. Oh no, they were quite careful to never get blood on their hands. These were people who murdered via conspiracy, through plotting and planning, through the careful manipulation of others. They could have been trusted advisors to the throne, or mercenaries, or just someone getting their kicks off. In death, Nagash has blinded them permanently. They have blindfolds on that they can never remove, and they are given scythes to which to cut down the living by just swinging randomly at complete abandon, never able to see what they're doing, just acting out of complete randomness in an ironic twist of being completely not careful anymore in what they're doing.
So you said these guys were all straight up murderers who were just, Zinchian plots to murder?
Yes, they were conspirators. I should also note, included with the Grimgas are the Extollers, which are their sergeant-like leaders. These are people who spoke against Nagash in life and are now condemned in death to sing praises to him and carry a giant bell.
Oh yeah, they absolutely deserve it. But again, I don't know how horrible that is as far as things go for being a Nighthaunt. Blind and swinging a chain. We'll stick him up pretty high, but again, don't know how bad that is in comparison to other stuff that I know Nighthaunt have.
True, though being permanently blind, especially if you could see in life, would kind of suck.
Yeah, that's why they're decently low. Maybe
Fair
a
enough.
bit lower.
Next up, we have one of my favorite Nighthaunt units, and ones who are a holdover from Warhammer Fantasy, and I'll keep talking while you fix this. We've got the Hexrays. The Hexrays in life were noble knights, defenders of the realm, valiant soldiers all. However, they had a failing. One small failing which damned them. These Hexrays, in life, cared more about the horses they rode upon than their fellow knights and soldiers. They may have fled a battle if their horses were harmed and not really went out to the protection of, their other soldiers who were actually fighting with them, caring more about their companions. In death, Therefore, Nagash has cursed them to ride eternally, never getting off their beloved horse, and being used to cut down the enemies of Nagash. They've had all chivalry and sense of nobleness stripped of them, knowing only the ride eternal.
So you said they didn't flee because of cowardice. They were fleeing because they feared for their mounts?
They didn't necessarily flee. It's just saying that if their mount was in danger, they would flee.
All right.
The main crime is that they cared more about their horse than their fellow man.
And all of their humanity and code was stripped of them?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, they don't deserve that. So we're going to stick the Hexrays down there.
Didn't deserve it and ruined life?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
Because, protecting your mount, the mount kind of relies on you as much as you do it. If you're putting value on saving your mount and being condemned for eternity for that, that's shitty.
Funnily enough, I actually think the reason Nagash has this as a punishment has to do with something in Warhammer Fantasy. One of the Nehekaran tribes that overthrew and helped defeat him his second time around invading were these renowned horse riders who had like these legendarily good horses that they valued more than other human beings.
So
I think
Nagash
his
is
cursing
just,
of
again, super petty.
He's reliving an old grudge.
Oh, I love how
Gotta
petty.
love him.
I love how petty Nagash is sometimes.
Next up is the final mainline troops unit of the Nighthaunt, Spirit Hosts.
They only have the two?
And they've all four of these are troops.
Oh, I thought
battle line.
the Grimgeists were elites.
No.
I guess battle line is... Yeah, okay.
They're more elite battle line, but they are battle line. Anyways, Spirit Hosts. And these are weird ones. Spirit Hosts existed even before the Necroquake. And they're kind of just your standard ghosts. They're not really being punished in any way. It's people who, died horribly or, died in midst of rage or stuff like that, or around necromantic energies, and now they're angry spirits rise up. They are said to have only the smallest wisps of sentience, and just kind of kill the living.
Well, given they're not even being punished, I'm going to say that's right there. Right on the line. They're not being punished, so they don't really deserve it. They don't not deserve it.
It is funny how much we have more on the deserved it side than the didn't deserve it side in terms of this chart.
I mean, I feel like given that most of these are being punished for crimes in life, I figured I should kind of skew the chart when I was making it.
You may live to regret this. Or not.
I might.
Especially with our next one. Oh boy. With our next one. Blade Geist Revenants. Some of the best killers among the Nighthaunt army list. The Blade Geist Revenants performed the horrific crime of dying horribly. Specifically, dying in desperation. Blade Geist Revenants are people who, say, drowned, or were crushed to death, or maybe were pulled apart on the torturer's rack. In any case, they went... even sealed into coffins and, choking to death or being put in the Iron Maidens. Point is, died horribly. The point is, they went to their deaths screaming. And of course, why would you want to avoid death? Death is great. So you must be punished. The Blade Geist Revenants have swords put in their hands and are eternally reliving the moments of their demise.
Oh, good lord.
And since they're now ghosts, they, are weightless, can wave their swords around, horribly murdering people. Don't even have to worry about hitting allies because they're all intangible. And, good at killing guys, but they think they're constantly dying.
Yeah, that's some nightmare fuel.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Fuck.
Oh,
Man,
they're
Nagash
gonna be
is
your,
petty.
I agree with you. Like, and there's one other one who are probably, like, the most didn't deserve it. It's going to be interesting. All right. Next up on our list are the Shackle Geists. Or no, the Chain Ghasts, rather. Apologies. I think that's an alternate name for them. Chain Ghasts work for a Nighthaunt unit called a Spirit Torment, whom we'll get to later. Basically, Spirit Torments are in charge of Nagash's jail for spirits called the Great Oubliette, and Chain Ghasts work for the Spirit Torments. Chain Ghasts, in life, were kind of similar to the Chain Rasps. They were people who were, imprisoned at one point or another. However, their crime is different, because their crime is that while in prison, they prayed to the gods to help save them, but they did not include Nagash. As such, their punishment is to retain a dim sliver of awareness, just enough to desire their own freedom, but are eternally bound to the spirit torment in capturing souls. Chain Gasps have iron masks over them that they probably can't really see through, and have to carry around very, very heavy weights that they use to kill people with.
So you said they're pretty similar to Chain Rasps in that they're prisoners. We don't necessarily know if they're innocent or guilty.
Yeah, and again, the only difference is their crime is they prayed to the gods to be saved, but didn't pray to Nagash.
All right, we'll stick them at the same level as Chain Rasps, but given they have that visage of freedom, that's a little bit worse.
Valid. Next up is the Craven Throne Guards.
I just realized that their name is literally Craven's Throne, because I know what these guys are.
Yes. So these guys work for a Nighthaunt character whom we will rank later, named Kurdos Valentian, the Craven King.
Now, we did talk about him in the Sigmar Leaders.
Yes, and we will get to his backstory again here. But the important thing to know here is that in life, the Craven Throne Guard were a band of, I guess, kind of mercenaries, more like cutthroats. Cutthroats whom Kurdos in life employed to help with his conspiracies. They were crossbowmen, given that is the equalizer between skilled combatants and unskilled combatants, because it's real easy to pull a trigger, and he would use them to take out people who were problems. In death, just as Kurdos was damned, all of his minions were too. So the Craven Throne Guard were all killed and raised as Nighthaunt to serve as bodyguards for the various leaders of death, and more importantly, they are eternally in service to Kurdos Valentian. Even they have to listen to what he says. They are still equipped with crossbows, and their crossbow bolts are made out of their own spectral essences, and it is said in the book, it is extremely painful whenever these bolts are formed and shot, being ripped from their own spirit forms. However, the Craven Throne Guard have a bit of a chance of some joy in their afterlives. You see, they really hate Kurdos for what they did to him. And since they're his bodyguards, they decided to pay him back. So what they do is whenever Kurdos is in battle, and he likes to vent his frustrations by beating the pulp out of people, they kill steal from him. They kill steal from him constantly. They just try and shoot down everything that they run into and encounter before he gets a chance to smack him around. As the quote in the book goes, that I love, "Never fear, your majesty. We shall ensure you do not have to lift so much as a finger to earn victory in the name of Nagash."
Yeah, so I feel these guys absolutely deserve their punishments. And the excruciating pain, I think, is a little bit of is kind of worth it for them to get a chance to forever kill steal from such a lowly bitch like Kurdos. So we're gonna stick these guys in an absolute improvement on life.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess they were peasants, or
Well, they were peasants, and they were also murderers.
Yeah, they're cutthroats. All right. Well, next up, the next up are the Dreadside Healers. This is going to be an interesting one. Dreadside Healers, in life, were healers, medics, surgeons, those who stitched up people who were injured, tried to bring them, back from the edge, make sure they don't die. Which is obviously stealing from Nagash. Everyone dies, and everyone, when they die, go to Nagash. How dare you attempt to prevent that? So, when these healers died, Nagash cursed them into one of his Nighthaunt. And their particular curse is that they retain their mind and their senses fully, but they have no control over their bodies. And their bodies are these scythe horrors which seek out the nearest living things and cut them to ribbons. And the Dreadside Healer is forced to just watch. And Nagash particularly loves to sick them on those they formerly healed.
So they're replacing the other guys as the lowest spot.
I was wondering what you were going to put lower, because both of theirs are pretty sucky.
That's horrible. Holy crap.
Yeah, but, reliving your own death...
Reliving your own death is horrible, but, your only crime is helping people, and now you're forced to make them suffer? I want to go into science because I want to help people. The concept of that, being forced to suffer for eternity because I wanted to help people... Oh... That's a nope for me.
Fair enough. I agree they're both pretty far left on didn't deserve it. I just didn't know which fate you think was worse.
I will say I'm going to have to shift the chart a little bit after we finish the next one.
Okay. Well then. Next up, we have the Glade Wraiths, whom, as I mentioned, were a change from what you previously knew. In life, the Glade Wraiths were hunters, but not the typical kind of hunters you would think of. These were hunters of men, bounty hunters, or perhaps those who just enjoyed taking down the most dangerous game. They cared not whether their targets were innocent or guilty of any crime, who they were. All they wanted was the thrill of the hunt. As such, in death, Nagash merged them with their hunting animals. As such, Glade Wraiths typically take on a horse-like aspect, they're riding horses, and are given glaives that eternally point to the hearts of their next target. And Nagash likes to use them as his assassins. He sends them out to take care of people he despises. And you may say, how is this a punishment? The Glade Wraiths no longer have any sense of satisfaction from the hunt. There's no job well done. The second they take down their target, they instantly have a new one and have to move on. They're given no rest, no time to reflect on what they do. Just given the next target and told to move on. Deprived of their once joy.
So I feel like these guys are also going to be pretty high because you're saying they're murderers, they're
manhunters.
Yeah. So we're going to put them pretty high, and I don't think losing the pleasure of the kill is quite as bad as being blinded and forced to just slice blindly. So we're going to stick them
just above the Grimgasts?
Around where the Grimgasts are. Maybe a little bit higher.
Fair enough.
All right.
Yeah, because the thing is, there could be... And I'll talk while you're fixing up the chart. There totally could be Glade Wraiths who only killed guilty people. The thing is that they didn't care. They were just killing to kill.
Right. Okay, and we are back. As you can see, I did move the Dreadside Healers and the
Blade Geists
back in the bottom corner there. and we have more space because I'm realizing now, holy crap, a lot of these people don't really deserve what they had coming to them.
Yeah, Nagash is petty.
Nagash is petty. Nagash is the worst.
And, speaking of that, I have a feeling you're going to be thankful for that space in a second. Because next up, we have
I know about these ones, too.
Mirrormorn Banshees. In life, the Mirrormorn Banshees were people who studied death magic, harnessing the energies of Shyish. However, in doing so, they did not pay proper respect to Nagash. Whether these were, selfish necromancers wielding their powers for their own sake, or those who perhaps used the amethyst winds of magic in an attempt to do some good. In any case, these people practiced necromancy or some of the off-branches of it while not respecting the guy who invented it. As such, in death, the Mirrormorn Banshees have been given an endless hunger for the magical energies that they once sought. They are made to hunt down sources of magic and consume it, though no sooner do they eat such magic that they are left hungry again, eternally seeking more to feast upon.
So, with these guys, I'm not sure where to put them on how much they deserved it, because it's kind of disrespectful to not honor the guy whose magic you're basically cribbing off of. But at the same time, I can only imagine there's a decent chance that some of these wizards legitimately don't know about Nagash's role in creating, say, amethyst magic. So it's like, if they consciously were like, no, screw Nagash, I can do what Nagash does, but better. Or screw Nagash, we don't want to heal, I don't want to acknowledge them. I could get it, but I'm assuming most of them aren't actively going out of their way to spite him.
It kind of depends.
That's what I mean.
The book just says, whether these powers were wielded for good or ill was immaterial to the Supreme Lord of the Dead. Only the insult mattered.
Yeah.
And it has been repaid 100 times over. I should note that when they do eat the magic, they seem pretty happy, because it does note that as they go in to feast, they are laughing.
Alright, so I'm going to stick them pretty close in the didn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still pretty low, like, their entire existence now is eating magic.
Fair. And they are constantly hungry, which does suck.
But you're still hungry. Why am I making that reference? You're not going to get it.
I'm not. Next up, we've got the Cairn Race, the big daddy of the scythe-wielding
I know these guys.
Nighthaunt. Slightly. Cairn Race in life were either serial killers, murderers, people who took killing for glee, or they were dark sorcerers who made a bet with Nagash or other powers of death to basically get a slightly better afterlife when they died. Cairn Wraiths are horrific nexuses of unholy necromantic energies. They're incredibly scary and really good at killing people. Their only punishment is that they often would get bound to the service of another undead power, a necromancer, a vampire, or a powerful Nighthaunt. And when that happens, they are no longer able to choose their kills. That's it.
Yeah. That's pretty high up there with absolutely deserved it and is getting basically no punishment.
Well, that's the thing, though. If they're not getting punished, don't they not deserve it?
And now you come to the issue with the four-pointed.
No, because if they're on the top with an improvement of life, but they didn't deserve it, then they would be...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're going to primarily be the top, the second topmost leftist. Didn't deserve it and got an absolute improvement. I think you know exactly who I have reserved for the top left.
I see this as an absolute win.
Like, you know exactly who I'm going to stick in the top.
Actually, I think you don't know who you're going to put up there. I know who deserves that spot, but I don't think you know about him.
We'll see.
You'll see. when we get to the named characters.
Yeah, I don't know all the named characters. I know 2 of the Nighthaunt named characters. I know, like, of Lycaron, but I don't know anything about him. Or
Lycaron?
the Briar Queen. Is that a Soulbound character? Or not a Soulbound, Underworld's character?
Yeah, she's an Underworld's character.
Okay.
Who's Lycaron?
Lycaron the Executioner? The dude on the dragon?
That's Reikenor.
No, it was... I could have sworn his name was Lycaron. What?
It's Reikenor.
Oh, it is Reikenor. Where did I get Lycaron from?
I don't know.
Like, Lycoron is in lie.
Anyways, next up, we have the Dreadblade Harrows. Dreadblade Harrows are kind of hard to talk about because they are tied into another Nighthaunt character, another Nighthaunt unit called the Knight of Shrouds. But I'm going to try it. Actually, I'm going to have to go into Knight of Shrouds very briefly. So, Knight of Shrouds, basically in life, they were great generals whom Nagash saw that they had great skill and thought, hey, I would like to have that on my side. So what Nagash would do is he would just harry these generals and send wave after wave of undead, basically put them in an unwinnable situation. And then he would tempt them, saying, give up, turn against your forces, work for me, and I'll ensure what you get, isn't bad. That when you die, you don't get a horrible afterlife. The Knight of Shrouds agree to this, and so betray their kind and kinsmen, and are transformed into the Knights of Shroud, the main generals of the Nighthaunt. However, they are eternally ravished with doubts about what they did. Was there a way out of it? Could they have succeeded in some way? Or were they just too weak to see it? They also have the names of all of the people that they betrayed inscribed in their helmets.
So they... that doesn't seem like just unending doubt and seeing the names of the people they betrayed.
Yeah, but they also they have a lot. As far as Nighthaunt go, they kind of have a lot more autonomy because Nagash has them out commanding his forces.
I'm gonna stick them kind of on the border here, because it doesn't sound like they have a huge punishment, but they did kind of deserve it.
All right, and now back to the Dreadblade Harrows. The Dreadblade Harrows...
Just real quick, I did click the right one, right?
Yeah, that is the Knight of Shrouds that you have right there. Back to the Dreadblade Harrows real quick, who are the guys on horses.
Were they his betrayed soldiers?
No, they were soldiers who saw the Knight of Shrouds that knew that he was about to betray his soldiers and said nothing. They went along with it. Or they were just like, he's the boss, I have to listen to whatever he says. So they were also turned into Nighthaunt as soon as the Knight of Shrouds gets turned into Nighthaunt. They have none of their honor or any sense of gratification, except for in committing the most heinous and unchivalrous of deeds. They act as sub-commanders to the Knight of Shrouds, joining him in his punishment of having to lead the Nighthaunt's forces for forever. Also as bodyguards. And also pseudo-assassins, because they're able to teleport around and go after, people who are a problem.
Alright, well, I'm going to stick them a bit higher than the Knight of Shrouds, and have that as an improvement.
Yeah, because I guess they have all joy stripped out of their lives outside of doing evil stuff, but, being a Nighthaunt, you're probably doing a lot of evil stuff.
Yeah.
You put them really far on the deserved it side, though.
I feel like they both kind of deserve it. They're both traitors. They turned on their allies.
Yeah, but if the Dreadblade Harrow is getting an improvement in life, don't they not deserve it?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Remember, if they're improved,
yeah, and they don't deserve it.
You have to consider. Yeah.
All right. Okay,
so next up are the Guardian of Souls. Guardian of Souls are interesting because they are kind of the opposite of Mirrormorn Banshees. These are wizards and spellcasters who started to dabble into necromancy and maybe got not so far, maybe got really far. But at some point they decided, you know what? This is evil and bad. I should stop doing this. So they did. And, not doing the form of magic that Nagash invented, that is a grave insult. So when they died, they are now forced to be Nexi of necromantic energies and to wield the magic that they once shunned. Helping out the Nighthaunt forces and blasting apart the living with blasts of necromantic fury.
Used my magic? That's a paddling. Didn't use my magic? That's an even bigger paddling.
Well, you could use Nagash's magic, you just have to, respect him for it.
Doesn't he also turn necromancers who made the dishonor of dying into Nighthaunt?
That was the old Guardian of Souls lore. They updated it, so now he doesn't do that.
Well, it sounds like he doesn't deserve the punishment, but he is getting, yeah. Well, so they don't really deserve it, but they are getting punished. But they did dip into necromancy in the first place.
Yeah.
So we're going to put them, let's say, around here.
And it's important to note that, it said they dabbled in necromancy, so this isn't like they were pushed to it out of desperation. These are people who, took an academic interest at some point and then backed out of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put them pretty close to the limit on whether or not they deserved it.
Yeah, okay.
Because they did kind of see the error of their ways and turn away from the magic.
Or at least realized it was really frickin' dangerous.
Maybe we'll stick them just on the other side of the line.
Fair enough. Alright, next up, Gas Crusaders. As mentioned, Nagash has a huge jail named the Great Oubliette. And sometimes people taken to the Great Oubliette are tortured for information because Nagash, wants it. He wants to get it out of them. But oftentimes these people will fall to the predations of the Nighthaunt and their spooky tortures. But some don't. Some hold out. Some never let the secrets pass their lips. And for that, they must be punished.
They are a keeper of secrets, as it were.
Hey! Gas Crusaders have all positive things stripped out of their personalities and are only left with a desire to pay back the pain they suffered in torture by wreaking those same tortures upon others. They are the torturers and interrogators of Nagash's forces, only gaining a sense of emotion out of forcing others what they went through and worse. They also eternally have to carry the instrument of their torture upon their back, which really raises the question, would a Nighthaunt Jesus have the crucifix on him at all times?
I mean, he wasn't tortured with the crucifix, he was murdered with the crucifix.
Crucifix is a pretty torturous way to die.
It is, again, but Jesus...
The Gas died and tortured, so that implies that, God. Anyways, carry on.
So, their crime to Nagash was that they didn't spill their secrets.
Yeah.
So that's not really deserving.
Now, it is mentioned specifically that the Gas were people who, in not spilling their secrets, were not spilling their secrets to, Nagash's forces. It's not everyone who gets tortured to death. It's only those who get tortured to death because they had information Nagash or undead forces wanted.
That's still also pretty horrific. I'm going to stick them pretty low here.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
If Nagash existed in 40k, would Gas Crusaders just, completely F up the Drukhari way of life?
What do you mean?
Well, because like now they got to be worried about. Well, I guess it's only to Nagash, but if he made the rules everyone who gets tortured to death, like that's a lot of ghosts.
Remember though, all Drukhari souls, kind of like Elven souls, are sworn to Slaanesh. So if a Drukhari sees true death, they're not going to Nagash.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the people the Drukhari torture.
But you're saying the people who get tortured are only only get turned into Kroghasts if they're tortured in the name of Nagash.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is, if Nagash made it everyone who gets tortured to death that he can grab.
Oh,
would
yeah.
Would that just screw up the Drukhari way?
Oh
of life?
yeah, the Drukhari would get.
Now Kamara is super haunted.
That said, given the Drukhari have already managed to make Kamra a place where Slaanesh can't fester, they might be able to erect death wards.
That's true. In any case, they're going to make a lot of cruel gas and a lot of chain gas.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. We have the Lord Executioners. Lord Executioners are kind of similar in their backstory to the Glade Wraiths. These are hangmen, executioners, those who carried out the judgment of kings, lords, and so forth, taking people to their final punishment and killing them for their crimes. However, the Lord Executioners, it's not so much that they took satisfaction in their work, that they liked it, it's that they didn't care, that they never thought, is the person I'm killing innocent or guilty? They just saw it as a job. They never took a deeper consideration into what they're doing or the morality of it.
13 12s.
As such, in death... What?
13 12s.
As such, in death, they are forced to continue what they're doing. But now, executing people for Nagash's will, taking down those who particularly trouble him. However, everyone they kill, their spirits are ripped out and now follow the Lord Executioner everywhere. Mocking him, pleading with him, saying that they were innocent, and putting that sense of self-doubt and guilt into him eternally, and never giving him a rest.
I'm gonna say they're a bit worse than the Glade Wraiths. Because, well, I've mentioned before, I don't care for cops, but then I'm an indigenous Canadian, so.
It is mentioned that the Lord Executioners, towards the end of their lives, were at the point where they were justifying everything they were doing in the name of civil structure and order.
Yeah, no, screw them. They deserve it.
It's there was a book called Soul Wars that had a Lord Executioner who was fun because it was a lady Lord Executioner whose husband had been turned into a Stormcast, and she was hunting him down to kill him because she wanted him back.
Isn't that not how Stormcast works? I just thought that was a fun
character. I mean, she doesn't know that.
Do they not? Do people not know how Stormcast are? I thought they were known to be like Sigmar's angels.
Well, to be fair, there was a spirit torment with them, and spirit torments capture souls, including Stormcast souls. We'll get to them.
Okay.
Next up are the Scriptor Mortises, one of the newest units to the Nighthaunt line. Scriptor Mortises were once truth tellers, journalists, writers, people who got information out. Their crime, however, is that they wrote stuff that Nagash did not particularly care for. As such, in death, Nagash has forced these people to eternally write the truths and propaganda of Nagash, extolling his greatness. Their books are also functionally death notes, in that they can write the manner in which someone dies in it, and if they finish writing it, that person dies in that manner. However, being writers, the Scriptor Mortises like to make the deaths as flowery and detailed and fun to read as possible, as such, it can often take them a while to actually, kill the person.
So obviously they deserved it. All journalists deserve the rope, right, Shade?
Wow.
Shade and I
Deserve
have
the rope right after we talked about the Lord Executioners. Wow.
Shade and I both have a close friend who's a reporter.
Yes.
But no, that's they get killed for telling the truth, and they become Fox News journalists.
I want to see Shaiish Fox News. The living are putting magic in the rivers of Styx that turn the frickin' spirits gay.
Oh my god. Scripter Mortis, Alex Jones.
But Alex Jones doesn't tell the truth.
So, I think is this the unit you were saying is going to be like right up in the top left corner?
No.
Okay, because this guy's, they're kind of up there, getting to be like...
The one is a hero unit.
Okay.
He doesn't deserve it, but he has an utter improvement on life.
Okay, so yeah, that's full-on propaganda. That sounds like a full-on improvement. Like, they turn from reporters who tell the truth to reporters who tell the truth, but now have superpowers to make their writings absolute truths.
Well, just that they can write people to death. Again, imagine the Death Note.
Yeah.
But like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
would have
I'm
to put
just
every detail about how they die. Not just like they die of a heart attack. It's like they clutch their chest as their heart stops, spinning around once, twice, thrice, their life flashing before their eyes, etc., etc., etc.
See, that still sounds like an absolute improvement.
They're a unit that, rules-wise, I wish worked better because their rules are fun and cool, but they're not good.
It's one of my favorite looking Nighthaunt models.
Because their whole thing is you pick an enemy unit and you roll at the end of each round, and if you roll under the turn number, that enemy suffers 2d6 mortal wounds. But, you're not going to... It's only under, so it never goes off turn 1.
It reminds
and you're
me
not
of,
really reliably going to get it until turn 4 or 5.
Reminds me of Orikan, in 40k. Orikan,
Oh, yeah.
You have to pick a number, and each turn, if you roll that number, Orikan ascends to a stat line of a Catan. But it is very possible you will never roll that number.
Alright, next up are the Spirit Torments. And these are weird ones. Spirit Torments are the jailers of the Great Oubliette. And when they're out in the field, their main thing is that they have these massive locks. And when people die around these locks, they can trap their souls within these locks to take back to the Oubliette, to be turned into Nighthaunt, or to torture the souls for information. Nagash is particularly interested in capturing the souls of Stormcast Eternals, because, he really, really hates them and wants to pick them apart because he hates them. And wants to figure out how they work.
I can't imagine why.
In life, I have no idea. They have never detailed what the Spirit Torments did in life to get their punishment. I don't know if they were jailers themselves, which actually doesn't make sense because jailers are the guys who lead the chain ghasts. I didn't mention them, but the leaders of chain ghast units are
the
Dread Wardens, who are, we're jailers. I have no idea. They don't say what Spirit Torments are. They just kind of are things. And the only thing that went into if they have a punishment is that Soulbound mentioned that they don't realize that they themselves are also prisoners. And they have locks on them where they're given a ring of keys. And none of the keys actually work on the lock, but they are driven to try.
So, again, I feel like that's kind of like a Spirit Host, where we don't really know anything about them. So, the whole driven to test the keys, I feel, kind of makes them worse than the generic ghosts. But, like you said, we don't know anything about them, so we don't know if they deserved it or not.
Yeah, I knew I pretty much figured that was what's going to happen. Oh, one fun detail. When they trap spirits in their locks, they like to peek in on them and make fun of them. You're so tiny.
That is hilarious.
Locked away.
I know the key to your problem.
Alright, next up we've got the Tomb Banshees. Another holdover from Warhammer Fantasy, which I forgot to mention Cairn Race were, but there you go. Tomb Banshees are people who, in life, were faced with great betrayal, and in death they are given no release, for their torment at their betrayal is increased 100-fold until they cannot help but vent it by screaming loudly, a scream that drives people to insanity and can hurt the soul itself, or do physical harm such as bursting people's internal organs and stuff like that. They often can join together into choirs and are one of the Nighthaunt leader units.
Wait, so you're saying their eternal punishment for being betrayed is an eternity of screaming?
Yep.
What?
Yep. Tomb Banshees kind of suck because they're holdovers from fantasy, and
That's like
the Nighthaunt concept
what?
wasn't really even made yet.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, they are not a favorite unit of mine.
Yeah, I'm sticking them right into the didn't deserve it. Far left didn't deserve it.
Because the thing is, like I said, they're from fantasy, so they're supposed to be classic ghosts. So, a classic ghost trope is people who were betrayed and, now haunt the living.
Yeah.
They had to keep it around, but they don't really fit in the punishment paradigm.
It's like how you can still technically field all the Cities of Sigmar units from fantasy, but none of them you'd ever want to use.
People use a fair number of them.
Do they?
Especially since...
flagellants and stuff?
Outside of Stormcast, there are no Cities of Sigmar units that are new. And characters. So crossbowmen and riflemen and stuff.
Didn't they get an entire model line update, though?
That's still coming. That hasn't come out yet.
Like the dragons and hydras and stuff?
The dragons were for Stormcasts.
No, the
Hydras
five-headed hydra guys. And
that's from fantasy.
Oh. I thought they got a big model line a couple years ago.
Cities of Sigmar are nothing but fantasy units and a couple new hero units.
Okay.
Their only thing is that they can, depending on which city they're from, they can ally in other armies. If you take the one city that's in Gyran, it's like the Living City or whatever, you can take Sylvaneth units.
Gotcha.
But I digress. Enough talking about the living. We're back to the dead. Next up are Black Coaches. This is a weird thing, but I felt like putting them here because their fates are different. The spirits that drive Black Coaches are Cairn Race. They did the exact same thing Cairn Race did. They were either murderers or dark sorcerers in life who made deals with Nagash. However, what they do is different. Black Coaches are essentially Nagash's version of a ambulance/medical wagon. If a particularly useful vampire is, staked and struck down, or perhaps a necromancer who is very helpful died, their body can be put in the coffin of a black coach. The black coach then rides around to seek places of death and gather up the deathly energies and the necromantic energies coming off, and that will form into the coffin and gradually regenerate the form that was within. This could also happen to liches and stuff like that. But yeah, as mentioned, it's the same thing as the Cairn Wraith.
But that's not really a punishment, so we're gonna...
Yeah, Cairn Wraiths aren't really being punished either. They're just given a job.
Yeah. But
where'd the Cairn Wraith go?
It's right here, I think.
No, that's Glade Wraiths.
Oh,
Cairn Race is top left. I forgot. Cause
yes, they didn't deserve it all. Right.
And they have an improvement on life.
Okay, in that case, I will stick them over there.
Yeah, I guess the only difference is they don't have as much autonomy as
and they don't get
a job to do.
And they're murderers who don't get to murder anymore.
Well, they still get to murder. I mean, they like to run people over with the black coach, and they have scythes and whips they can hit people with.
Okay, we'll stick them up a little bit.
It's just, they have a more pertinent job to do.
Yeah. Reminds me of Slaanesh, one of their chariots, the Hellflayers, I think.
The one that looks like a combine harvester?
Well, they've got two that look like combine harvesters. But yeah, the one looks more like a combine harvester, was initially just tilling the fields after a murder, so the demonettes who had to carry them, they didn't enjoy it. And then one day a couple demonettes were just like, hey, why don't we just ride this into battle? And they used it really well. Slaanesh loved the idea, but because they went against Slaanesh's will, now they're turned to stone and right in front of Slaanesh's throne. So they can never again...
Aren't they like turned around?
Yeah.
So they can't... Yeah.
So it's like they're honored, but they can
one.
never again look upon Slaanesh's majesty.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Alright, well next up we have the only Forge World unit for Nighthaunt, the Mor Ghoul. This is another holdover from Fantasy, but a bit fancier of a one. Mor Ghouls were people who in life gave in to the temptations of cannibalism for one reason or another. They may have been, desperately starving and forced to eat their fellow dead. They may have killed someone for fun to eat their flesh. Whatever the purpose, they ate another of their same kind. As such, in death, similar to the Mirrormorn Banshees, their hunger is made endless, and now they eternally thirst for, flesh and blood. However, as you may notice from their models, the bottom half of them is missing. So everything they put into their mouth and that gets shredded apart with their teeth instantly falls out of them, and they can never sate their hunger.
That's literally what the skeletons from Pirates of the Caribbean are.
Yeah, kinda. These guys are based off the Wendigo myth.
I gotcha. So cannibalism is cannibalism, so we're going to stick that pretty high up on deserving it.
Well, remember, this could be somebody who had to eat someone to survive.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Alright.
Yeah, so we're going to stick them about halfway in, halfway down. Sate their hunger forever and ever, but never be able to be fully sated.
Oh man, there's a Mor Ghoul character in one Age of Sigmar book I read. It's a child who his village got massacred during the Age of Chaos or by Chaos Raiders, and he was forced to eat his family to stay alive afterwards.
Brutal.
Shit sucks.
Oh my god. Oh, that's brutal. That's edgy.
Well, we're about to get into our final stretch because all that's left are the Nighthaunt named characters. How are you feeling about the list so far?
I mean, I feel pretty good about where things are. Are you surprised about any of the positionings?
Not particularly. I suppose I could see the I'd have maybe put the Mor Ghoul closer to on the line, just because there are instances where they didn't really do anything super wrong. But fair enough. Cannibalism is pretty important.
Cannibalism is one of those things I really, really don't ever want to think of a justification for it.
Fair enough. Well then, are you ready to learn about Alrak the Drowner? Or as I like to call him, Alrak this motherfucker.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
In life, Alrak the Drowner was a sailor and a seaman who would offer people boat rides to islands. And then when they got midway through, he would push them off the boat and drown them. He didn't do this for any purpose. He wasn't interested in their money or anything. He was just killing them because he thought killing was fun, and just kept doing it.
This motherfucker.
So it was fun. Nagash loved this guy because he was killing for the sake of killing. So in death, Nagash gave him a ghost boat and was like, sail the seas eternal, go around and kill unworthy souls. Just keep killing them however you want. And now you don't even have to pretend that you're offering them a service. You can just kill them. And Alrak was like, cool, because it even says in the book that Alrak thinks that his life is significantly better now, as he gets around killing people for Nagash.
Here I go, killing again.
And here's the fun thing that I only realized when I was thinking about him earlier today. The way Alrak kills people does not feed any of the Chaos Gods. There's no blood because he's just drowning them. It's not a particularly clever plan, so it doesn't help Zeech.
But it is.
He can't master it because he's just pushing people over a boat.
He is betraying people, which is still Zeechian.
Yeah, but I think Zeech would prefer more plots within plots, not, hey, want a boat ride? And then, get halfway through, hey, look at that cool fish.
Also, Nurgle will probably kind of like him because that's a very slow and torturous way to die.
Well, Nurgle likes death over hours. Drowning is not that long.
Fair enough. So yeah, he's going to be...
Yeah.
I had to move other units over because he's going to be sharing the top left with somebody else.
Yeah, this is the one I told... No, this is the one I thought you were going to put in top left. Alrak is totally the one who has the most improvement on life, but absolutely does not deserve it.
Yeah. See, I would say someone else getting as much power as they did was not fucking deserved.
Okay.
I would say you're right. He absolutely has the biggest improvement on his life, but this other person did not deserve just how much power they got.
You want to hear something really funny? Alrak's Ore, which is his melee weapon, is one of the best melee weapons in Age of Sigmar.
I love it when you get stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, his fucking wooden paddle.
It's like the...
better than some legendary swords.
It's like the aberrants in 40k are swinging around stop signs with the force of power hammers.
Yeah, because he has 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, rend -2, D3 damage. But whenever he charges a unit, he does mortal wounds on the charge. And if he kills people with these mortal wounds, he gets D3 extra attacks.
Oh, that is dirty.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Anyways, next up we have the Briar Queen. The Briar Queen ties into Warhammer Underworlds, specifically this first part 2 of the first season, which was all about Shadespire. She led an army. She was a powerful necromancer in service to Nagash, who led an army against the city of Shadespire and its rulers, the Cataphragnes. Because the Cataphragnes had figured out a way to, basically put people's souls into mirrors when they die, so that way they don't go to Nagash and can enjoy a kind of immortality, which, Nagash really hates. She was defeated, and the people who defeated her threw her in a dungeon and tortured her until she went insane and was consumed by misery and despair, but still held a hatred. Also, she got trapped inside of one of those shade glass mirrors. So she was tortured, made into a miserable spirit and then trapped in a mirror. She gets released in Age of Sigmar, and Nagash was like, hey, I remember you. You used to work for me. I like you. And turned her into a very powerful Nighthaunt with her mastery of necromancy intact. And now she haunts the Shadespire, which has since been cursed by Nagash to be trapped inside of a sub-realm in which the souls can't leave. And people who die eternally come back, so that she can enact vengeance on those who tortured her by, torturing them and killing them over and over and over again. She's also allowed to leave sometimes to go capture specific spirits to pull them into the city, but she always pretty much sticks around and stays in there.
Good
otherwise.
Lord. Yeah, so
that's the Briar Queen.
Yeah, right up there was getting their life improved.
Fair.
Because you said she was a necromancer, she was already a servant of Nagash, and now she is an immortal dead person who is able to forever wreak his vengeance upon the people of Shadespire, and is also able to leave occasionally. So she's just empowered.
Yeah, my only thing is, do you really think she doesn't deserve it? Because the Cataphragnes aren't exactly good guys. They kind of messed with the natural order.
So you don't think...
I feel like this deserves some context. The Cataphragnes did their death-defying thing during the Age of Myth when Nagash was on Sigmar's pantheon. They did not do it after he, turned against Sigmar and everyone else. They did it while he was ostensibly a good guy.
So where would you stick her?
I'm just giving you context. You can stick her wherever. Like I said, it's all up to you.
I'm gonna keep her high up. Maybe take her back a little bit though.
Oh, also, this may also affect things. The Cataphragms were big practitioners of slavery. Like I said, not good guys.
All right.
Next up, we have Reikenor, the Grimhailer. And you're going to enjoy this, Tomo, for a specific reason. Do you know what Reikenor is often described as?
Is that a flying steed?
It is a flying horse. But you know what but he's riding on it. Do you know what he was called in life?
The Noble Knight?
A Sorcerer King. Yes, Reikenor was once a noble ruler of a kingdom who also was a powerful sorcerer, well learned in necromancy, to the point that he believed his knowledge of necromancy was near that of Nagash, maybe a little less, but he thought he was close. He sought that knowledge for a benevolent reason, because he wanted to make it so people didn't die and that his own people would live forever. Being free of Nagash's grip, being able to spend their lives however they want, they would never die or fade away. Nagash could not have this, so he killed Reikenor, and now in death, Reikenor is made to hunt down those who are attempting to do what he did, basically. People who are seeking to find ways to avoid death. And he goes after them and kills them. He also has a bunch of candles that, if he snuffs them out, can suck on his soul energy or the soul energies of others to empower his magics.
I recognize that description.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, so...
wow,
yeah, he didn't deserve it, and he's suffering, sounds like.
Is being made to kill people really that bad of a punishment, though?
The dude was going out of his way to stop people from ever having to die.
I guess. Fair enough. It is kind of like the Dreadside.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the Dreadside Healers. Like the entire crime is helping people.
Though, to note, he doesn't have his original mind. At least I don't believe. I think Nagash has turned him evil.
Oh, okay. In that case, he still doesn't deserve it. But we're gonna put him around where the garbage banshees are.
Fair enough.
All right. Tell me about the Game of Thrones, Shade.
Well, in the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. And sometimes you die, and then you get stuck on a throne, but it really, really sucks. Such is the case in our next character, Kurdos Valentian, the Craven King.
The Cuck King.
Kurdos, also known as Lord Usurper and the Ever-Spurned, was once a royal rather, the one who was not directly in the line of succession. He was, a fourth or fifth down the line. But he would not countenance this. Kurdos believed that he deserved the throne and the crown. And as such, working with his Craven throne guard, he murdered or arranged accidents for all others who would claim the throne, until eventually it was he who was next in line to be put in charge. This was not his crime. Kurdos' crime was that he did all of this while saying that he was a worshipper of Sigmar. And Nagash was like, Sigmar's like a god of nobleness, and you're doing some really petty evil shit. You should worship me. Also, that's petty and evil, and reminds me of myself, which means I must punish you because, whatever. So, the second that Kurdos' crown touched his head, Nagash had him struck dead. In death, Kurdos can never speak louder than a whisper. He cannot command others. and he's made eternally to only suggest and recommend to other generals of undead forces, always being in second place. He was forcibly married to Lady Olander, Mortarch of Grief, who is the leader of the Nighthaunt overall. He was made into a beat stick. He really can only take out, beat people up. He doesn't have any command abilities. He's just a blunt instrument. And perhaps the funniest part of all, the ghosts of his brothers, whom he killed, well, his siblings, rather, now follow him around, one with a trumpet and one with a flag. And their whole job is to annoy him and make fun of everything he does for the rest of forever.
Let's not forget that he's got his personal bodyguards from life following him around, making sure he can never even get the glory of kills.
Yes. I know I already mentioned it, but yes, that is also part of it.
Yeah.
Kurdos is a loser.
Kurdos is a loser, and Kurdos absolutely deserved everything he had coming to him. Because he's a little bitch, and he's a cuck, and he's a loser.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
Wow.
Am I wrong?
I mean, his crime was worshipping Sigmar.
Yeah, that's the worst crime of all. So that's why he's in the bottom right. And he's going to stay there.
All right. Now time for our last character. Lady Olinda, Mortarch of Grief, and the overall leader of the Nighthaunt.
One of Nagash's most trusted advisors.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, let's list all of his trusted advisors. He's got Arcan.
Very trustworthy.
Anyways, Lady Olinda's backstory. Somewhat similar to Kurdos, Lady Olander was somebody who desired the throne and power for herself. As such, she married a prince, and the Prince of Dolorum, and was going to be wed into power. However, on the nights of their wedding, tragedy of tragedies, the prince mysteriously died, and the king also died under mysterious circumstances. The poor bride, Lady Olander, she was written out before her people to join them in mourning, a veil over her face that hid her smile. For Lady Olander, in fact, was the one who planned the murder of her husband and her father-in-law, desiring to not share the power with anyone else. Later on, during the Age of Chaos, the forces of Nurgle would invade Dolorum, and Lady Olander would proceed to absolutely not give a shit. She just kind of let things happen, went the way they are, with the whole plan being that as soon as Nurgle's forces reached Dolorum, she would willingly join them because she didn't want to give up her life of comfort. And I guess figured, if I join Nurgle, I'll get to keep my castle and my cool, stuff. I'll just be a pus-ridden mess. Nagash was like, this bitch, and killed her for this crime. As such, Lady Olander, in death, was made to feel the sorrow and agony of everyone across all of the mortal realms. All feelings of despair and sadness flowed into her. A ironic punishment given her false mourning of her husband. However, after the Necroquake went kind of wacky and all the Nighthaunt got unleashed everywhere, Nagash was like, crap, I have all these new forces. I need somebody to lead them. And he found out that Lady Olander, after becoming a Nighthaunt, took over Dolorum again and got a bunch of Nighthaunt to work for her and organize them. And he was like, you seem pretty good at organizing these ghosties. Why don't you come work for me? So Lady Olander was made the Mortarch of Grief, one of the demigods of Nagash. She got a cool hourglass filled with grave sand that she can use to heal herself or age people into dust. And freed Catacros and best friendies.
Lady Olander does not deserve anything she has.
she is getting punished still.
Yeah, but it's not.
She's
getting punished, and yet she is still absolutely benefiting and getting stronger, and it's almost like she's able to use her abilities to get even more benefits.
Yes. Anyone who gets close to Lady Olander feels the despair she's feeling, which can drive people to suicide.
Yeah, and given
if she lifts her veil and shows them her face, they get such a pure concentration of sadness that it stops their heart.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this is an absolute improvement for her. She does not deserve it. She does not deserve anything she has, and she's right there at the top. A stark contrast to her cuck husband.
Fair. I mean, she still is being punished. I don't feel like her being all the way at the top of improvement of life is a bit weak.
You don't think so?
I mean, she's worse off than Alrak. Alrak just gets to do whatever he wants.
Fair enough. I'll swap him around. But before I do that, Shade, there's one other Nighthaunt character that we need to talk about.
By the way, I forgot one quick thing I wanted to mention about Lady Olander, because this is fun and important. After she got her husband and father-in-law killed, there were a group of knights who were like, "This bitch, we're going to kill her, because she can't take the throne." So she seduced a knight, and he revealed the plans from the conspirators, so she had them all killed, and then she had the knight whom she seduced killed without putting out.
Yeah, no, screw Lady Olander. I love it.
and now that knight whom betrayed everyone is the lead Knight of Shrouds of the Emerald Host, Lady Olander's personal hit squad of Nighthaunt.
That's amazing. So
this bitch.
So Shade, there's one more Nighthaunt person that we need to talk about.
Yes, I saw he is technically in the Nighthaunt Codex, so I guess we should mention him. Nagash, the great necromancer, the god of the undead, the lord of all things passed through the mortal coil. Old bones.
Full of green dust.
Nagash, in life, was the firstborn of Nehekara, of Khemri specifically, the capital city of Nehekara. You see, the thing is, they had a weird custom where the firstborn was given over to the priestdom, and the secondborn got to take the throne. And Nagash hated that because his younger brother was weak and cared about peace and trade deals. And Nagash's like, fuck that. So when Nagash's father got killed by some dark elves, he had the dark elves who got captured brought into a pyramid so he could learn their dark magic. And then he killed them, and then he took their dark magic and combined it with his knowledge of, because he was part of the mortuary cult, his knowledge of grave stuff to invent necromancy, and the rest is history. Turned himself into a lich, got killed, but keeps coming back, and then eventually became a god in the end times.
So, given Nagash is another character who kind of deserves everything he has coming to him. Yet, he keeps benefiting. The dude is now the undisputed god of death. Hilariously OP. Able to stand against even the Chaos Gods and Sigmar himself. Hilariously clowns upon the Goddess of Life. So, absolutely an improvement on life.
Beat the god of magic.
Beat the god of magic in a battle of magic.
Duel.
So, I'm going to say he's pretty high up on improving things. But he does not deserve what he has.
He doesn't deserve it?
No, not really.
I mean, I will say, at least the Gash worked for everything. He had to learn magic from the bottom, and now he's here.
Alright. We'll stick him right in the middle.
Alright.
So, yeah, let's fix up these two. So, here's mine, I guess. This is For once, I get to say it's mine.
Yeah. Let's take a moment to make some observations. So I've got some questions for you. Are you surprised at how many units are on the improvement on life side?
No.
No?
I figured there'd be enough that I should have it pretty decently sized. Because initially it was just going to be like a tiny little corner, and then all of the just degrees of how much their life was ruined. What I was not expecting was how many units do not deserve what they have happening to them.
Yeah, Nagash is a god of justice, but his justice is somewhat arbitrary, mainly to what did you do to offend him?
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. Having learned all this, what is your favorite Nighthaunt unit in terms of what they're after, what their fate is as a Nighthaunt and what they did in life?
In regards to like what they did versus their fate, the Dreadside Healers, that is some nightmare fuel punishment. In terms of full-on lore, I love that Alrak, the Drowner guy. That is hilarious. That is some fantastic lore. Holy crap.
Just keeps on winning! I like to imagine, like, he's not eloquent at all. He's just a
he's just a ferryman. He's just like, hey, you guys need to ride across to the city of Helmsworth? Sure. All right, boat ride will take a couple days. Night 1. Hey, does this smell like chloroform to you? Whack!
I still like the, hey, look at that fish.
Yeah.
Push.
That is, like, that might be my new favorite Nighthaunt character.
You ever think he gets nostalgic and tries to give people boat rides again?
Oh man, that is an image. Just like the seas fill with like the screams of the dead, a soft, unholy light that fills you with terror, kind of breaching the crest of the ocean. The boat slowly sails up to you. Greetings, traveler. Do you seek a ride?
Again, I still think of him being a salty sea captain in terms of his voice.
Yeah.
Yar!
Yar, mateys!
Do ye be needing a ride to the next shores? I have a trustworthy vessel. Never sank.
100% of people who sailed with me ended up exactly where they needed to go.
I be sending you down to Nagash Jones's locker.
What about you, Shader? Is there any
I
units here that you were kind of surprised where I put them?
Like I said, the Mor Ghoul was a little surprising for me. I thought maybe when I mentioned the Torturous Bolts part, you might have put the Craven Throne Guard as being ruined life, but they do have a lot of amusement.
See, from what I could tell, like, sure it hurts them, but they're getting more out of it than they're losing.
Yeah, fair enough. You know who actually would be in the top left corner if we could separate them out?
If we could what, sorry?
If we could separate them out.
Who? Oh, Nagash's brothers. Or not Nagash,
Curtis's brothers. Yeah. They improve it on life. I guess they deserve it because they got screwed over hard.
I mean, they deserve it because they failed at the Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an absolute improvement for them.
I guess Reikenor somewhat surprised me. At least initially how far down you were going to put him on ruined life.
Yeah, no, if he was like fully aware that he's having to like go against everything he stood for, he would be down there with the Dreadside Healers.
Is there anyone you're reconsidering where they're at right now?
No. No, I think I'm.
At the Hexrays.
Oh yeah, the Hexrays. I got to move a bit more over because.
I'm gonna say Hexrays are farther down in ruined life than the Mor Ghoul is, and the Mor Ghoul is eternally starving.
Yeah, we'll do that.
They just get to ride eternal. Well, any final thoughts? Has this given you a new perspective on the Nighthaunt overall?
Not really. I still think Nighthaunt will look really cool. And I already knew their lore was kind of grimdark.
Very.
With that said, though, Shade, next week I think we're gonna move away again from Warhammer for a while, because I've got a bunch of ideas that aren't really Warhammer. What about you?
Well, we could always do part 2 of the Tokusatsu.
We might do part 2 of the Tokusatsu. We might also talk about Tokusatsu adjacent stuff.
Mecha, yeah, Toku adjacent stuff.
Yeah.
I have some ideas of stuff I might want to talk about for that.
Yeah. So until next time, I've been Tomo.
I've been Shade Reagan.
And Shade, do you have any thoughts to leave us with?
Yeah. You know what you fucking did. And you absolutely deserve it.